Hi guys, and welcome back to Topic Tuesday episode 21. If you've been able to watch any of the previous episodes, then thank you so much and thanks for coming back. I'm so excited for today's episode. I've been waiting to get Grace in this hot seat for so long, actually since you came off.
I know, I'm so excited for today.
And I'm so excited just to dive deep into a number of things with regards to Grace at the moment and have a real girly, like feminine chat. Thank you so much for coming. I really appreciate it. I do just want to say before we start our conversation, I am holding the mic, which no one will be used to. We've just been, the equipment just didn't want to work with us today. So I'm trying my best with this. I'm new with it, but hopefully it shouldn't be too off-putting or feel a bit funny. But yeah, that's just that one. But back to you. Thank you for coming. I always
for having me.
Ask our guests to just introduce themselves.
Hi guys, I'm Grace. You've probably seen me recently off Love Island, but I think today we're having a bit more of like so I think obviously I've been doing a bit more of the chats on Love Island, a bit more like the gossipy side, and I think this is a nice time for us to actually sit and like speak about different things other than just completely focusing on the show. So I'm excited for that.
Yes, that's
excited for that.
Yeah, that's exactly why we're here. And I also think on the show you demonstrated such like strong female character.
Yeah.
And I think I'm a fan of the show, by the way. I freaking love Love Island. I always have. I think I've watched every series. And I think you were such a breath of fresh air. Like, obviously, I know you before the show. So I was rooting for you anyways. But then I was like, she's freaking killing it. You did such a good job. So
thank you.
We're going to talk about a number of things. And first of all, we're going to talk about kind of like the reality of reality TV and like what it actually means. Obviously not the gossip and what happened on the show, but more so like the highs and the lows, the way it takes like mental account and how that feels, especially as a female. I do personally feel, and this is my personal opinion, that females are a lot more scrutinized than males in their behavior, the way and it's like, really frustrates me, but that's just part and part of it. But let's just talk initially, like before you went on the show, what were your thoughts? Like, talk to me about how you got approached, what the thought process was.
Okay, so I first got approached, so it was through, ITV went through my agency. So they didn't individually pick me, they were just kind of like, would there be anyone on your books or within your agency that would be interested? So my agent came to me and was like, listen, is this something that you'd want to do? And to be honest, I always was like, no. I was always like, I'm not really that interested. I always thought like it'd be fun to be on there, but actually doing it, I was like, I don't know if I'd want to put myself out there. And then she was like, look, just have it in the background, just go through the process and see how far it takes you. So went through the whole process and ended up getting to the end of the process. And this was basically for the winter one. So I've spoken about this before. So I don't know if you remember, but it was the last winter one that they did. I think they've axed the winter one now because they do All Stars. So I'm quite glad I didn't go on that one. I feel like it wasn't my time and I was obviously a little bit younger. So I think, it just wasn't my time and I'm glad I didn't. But then they reapproached me for the summer one last summer.
Okay.
So obviously not the one I've just done the year before that.
Yeah.
And I was just away a lot with work. So I was like, it just didn't really align. And then they came back to me for the third time and was like,
really wanted you.
And I was just like, guys, I don't think because the process is really long and you have to start from pretty much from the beginning to do all your tests and just to make sure like, because they're so strict with the welfare, they're amazing and they go through step by step. So they won't be like, right, we'll just leave where you left off, because obviously you might have gone through something in your life that you need to like open up and tell them about. And so every time you speak to them, they kind of go through the whole process again.
Okay.
And they'll want to know like new dating stories and like what you've been up to in life and like just where you're at. So basically they kind of reapproached me and was like, are you still single? And I was like, yeah, I am. And they were like, listen, if you're interested. And my agency was like, you've done it before, you know the process, just let it like go on in the background. And if they offer you a good spot on the show, then see how you feel.
And was that important to you, the time you went in?
Because basically when it was the winter one, they offered me a spot and it was after Casa. So it was like one of the very last bombshells. And I was like, no, I'm not going in at the end, because I think I personally think it's harder to show your full personality when you're going in at the end because you don't have as much time, number one. And number two, I know everyone's going in there to find someone and whatever, but I am not that type of person to split someone up who's been together for like 6 weeks, because in there it feels a lot longer. And even on the outside, I'm not trying to split someone up who've been seeing each other for 6 weeks. So I was just like, no, not for me. So where I kind of was placed on the show was really important to me. But with ITV, obviously things like it changes. With TV, it changes. So they can say to you, you know, we'd want you in as first or second bombshell, but it's never guaranteed. They're probably saying that to a few other bombshells as well. But luckily, I think I was second girl bombshell. So I was really, really pleased with where I was. I think I went in on episode 10. So I was fine with that. So I feel like everything aligned and worked out a lot better for me this time. So I'm so glad I did it.
Yeah, you absolutely, as I say, you absolutely smashed it.
Thank you.
I've just got to ask.
Yeah.
The intention behind going on. What was it?
So I actually did and still do really want to meet someone. I'm at that point in my life where I'm ready to settle. I've been single for a few years now, so I know exactly what I want. But I think people are like, you would be lying if you said that there's not an intention, because you know that it boosts your profile. You know that it's good for work opportunities, and it probably would open a lot more doors than maybe it would, you know, like without being on the show. And everyone knows that now. Like, it's been going on for so many years that people do know that. But that wasn't my full intention. It genuinely wasn't, because you never know how long you're in there for. Like I said to my agency, I could be in there for 5 days, and do you know what I mean? It might not boost my profile at all, or I could make it to the end, or you can't really like plan on things, because it's so out of your hands with how long you're in there for. So it was never like, right, get me in there because I now want to come out with this deal, or like I honestly thought I'd be in there for 2 weeks and I'd be out. I didn't think I'd be in there till the end.
Really?
No, I just didn't.
And
so
you know how you said it is also out of hand?
Yeah.
Does it feel like that when you're in there? Does it feel kind of like all this feels out of hand, or do you feel like...
Well, a little bit, because obviously a lot of the voting is down to the public, and because you're not completely aware of what's exactly being shown. You know how you're acting day to day, but you don't know if people are seeing 30 seconds of you or if they're seeing 30 minutes of you. So like, the relationship you might have with the public could be different to what you realize, because you don't know what is exactly being shown. And there's also been conversations I've had for 30 minutes and I've seen 30 seconds of it, and the way it's been clipped, and I've been like, that is not how that conversation flowed. It like flowed like that, but now it's flowed like that, and how it was portrayed is a little bit different to how it was.
Do you know what? I actually commend anyone who goes on that show.
Yeah, I was really naive in thinking that I would be like left to my own devices in that type of sense, because it's different when you're in there, because obviously it's a TV show at the end of the day, so they are going to be like... do you know what I mean? So, and you can't just be left to chill and do your own thing. And I get that, because it is a TV show, so they need it to flow and they need it to make sense. But then, yeah, I think I was a bit naive in thinking that, like, once I came out, I watched a few things and I was like, I was like, that is not how that was intended at all. And I got, like, I wouldn't say hate, but a lot of comments being like, oh, she did this and that doesn't look good, because... And I was like, that actually wasn't how that conversation went at all. But the way it was clipped sounded like it was, if that makes sense.
And looking back, when you came out of the villa and you watched those clips, did that frustrate you personally, or were you just like, well, whatever?
I was just a bit like, whatever, because it happened quite at the start of the show. So it was I think it was like the first or second week I was in there. And at this point, it'd been like 2 months since. So I was just a bit like, whatever, guys, like, you're going to think because as a viewer you do, so you're so invested in it and you don't realize how much production is going, do you know what I mean? So how much things are edited. So as a viewer, I don't blame you that you think this of me, because that is kind of how it's shown. So I was just a bit like, whatever, guys, you think what you want to think. Like, you don't actually realize what's going on here.
I do think, though, since the show has been on TV more, and we are, as an audience, we are a bit more
aware. Yeah. You're more aware because there's also things that you'd be like, that doesn't make sense. Like, was that production pushed, or was that, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but I think now it's nice because the audience is so much more aware that I think we cut people more slack in that sense. Yeah. We know that it's a pressure cooker in there. And I give my hats off to anyone that does it, because I know for a fact there's such a lack of control over your personality and 100%. Like your character, and they can paint you any
in a
way
different
you want.
way.
Which is why, as I said, like, the way you're so like strong-minded,
Mm-hmm.
that carried on the whole way through, you know,
Yeah,
which I thought was
yeah.
beautiful from like
Yeah.
definitely a female and like a beautiful woman, and like
Mm-hmm.
it carried the whole way through. And I think that's just testament to your character and how you were raised, to be honest. Did it take a toll on you mentally?
Yeah, I would say it did. Like there was times where like I was ready to leave, but not because I was like I just felt like my experience was done in a sense, and this was
Okay.
before Ruben came in. So this
Yeah.
was before, so I was kind of lingering a little bit, and I do remember saying to them like I've loved my experience in here, but like if I was to leave, I would be happy.
Okay.
And obviously they can't just be like, okay, get your stuff and leave. Like
Yeah.
it genuinely is up to the public, or it's up to the islanders, because they're the people that decide whether you stay on the show or not. But I remember hitting a mark where I was like, I am fine if I go home, because I think a lot of people when you're in there, they're like scared to go because they're like, I want to stay, but
want to have more time.
yeah, I want to have more time. But I was like, I'm happy to leave. And I think that was just because mentally, like I was like, you miss your family and friends so much, and it's not normal life in there. And it's obviously like you're aware you're on a TV show, and you're aware that it's just not normal life.
It's not.
As much as it was an amazing experience, it's quite mentally like you've got to be a different type of person to be in there. Like I think
Really?
yeah, and I understand why they do the checks, like they do very thorough checks, because it's not easy in there. And I think like there's a lot of things going on, and I think if you can't handle it, then do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I just think I was at a point where I was like, I'm fine with going. But I think mentally I was okay. But I think maybe because I was in the bubble, I think when I came out a little bit, I was just like, what the hell has just gone on?
Okay.
Do you know what I mean? Because I was in this bubble, so I didn't actually really like realize it was probably taking more of a mental strain on me than it was. And then when I came back to normality, I was a bit like, oh my God, what has actually just gone on?
And how did you feel in that moment? Was it like anxiety, or was it like
just a bit like, do you know when you feel a bit numb and you're a bit like, oh my God, but you're at such a high because I'd come out to like amazing articles and a lot of support, and a lot of people like would come over to me and be like, you've been such an inspiration, or I've now handled this situation with a man different because of you. And I'm like, that is, to me, is the craziest thing, because I'm just being me, and I was kind of just like treating, do you know what I mean, treating a situation how I would treat it on the outside.
Yeah.
And for a woman to come over and say that like I've now altered how I was in this situation with a man because of how you were, like that to me was just crazy. And I had that from a lot of women, so I was just like at such a high with kind of feedback, but then also was just like, oh my God, what the hell has gone on?
It must take a second to like really adjust.
Yeah, because you're kind of like so used to being with people 24/7, you don't actually get that time to digest sometimes what's going on. And then when you lay there on your own in your room and there's silence and you've got as much time as you want to think that was the moment I was just like, oh my God, that was crazy.
Wow.
Yeah.
It must feel so surreal.
Yeah, it does.
Since being in the villa and actually having that experience, because only a handful of people take that experience, can you see and understand and realize how it went so left for other people mentally? Like,
yeah, 100%. Because I even think because obviously they prep you a lot for like negative comments and hate.
But I'm actually interested to know like what kind of stuff do they ask you in order to see if you're fit or not? Like what questions do they ask you?
So a lot of the welfare chats, it's kind of like, from what I can remember, they strip everything back. So they're kind of like, how was your childhood? Like, how's your current relationship with like friends, with your immediate family? Are there any dates in the year that like affect you like mentally or that would take a big strain? So obviously if you were in there on a date that like something, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're very thorough with all of that. Sometimes they request to speak to your parents just to like obviously see who your family are and like what they think of it. What else do they ask? They do a lot of tests, kind of like 1 to 10 on how you would act in like this moment or how you would react to this. I think they just monitor like your mental health, your anxiety levels, maybe like, just to kind of see if you're fit for the show. Because I think obviously if you've maybe struggled a lot, and I do still think there's people that go on there that's, do you know what I mean? I think everyone somehow, some way suffers with a bit of anxiety, so I don't think
100%.
they would rule out everyone and anyone, but I think they like to understand you as a person, to be like, okay, well, she's coming in or he's coming in and, you know, they might have suffered from this or they might have been through this in their life, do you know, just so they can understand you as a character.
Yeah.
And I think that's really good, because I don't know if they used to do that as thoroughly, but now it's so thorough. Like the amount of calls I would have with welfare, like
Since you've come off?
Since I've come off and prior to going on.
Okay.
Like they were very, even like when you're in your cast holding, like they go through all, like I had to sit and watch like hours and hours of videos of just like speaking through like villa life. They have a lot of like ex-islanders speaking through like how it is in there, how it is afterwards. They have like social media coaching, welfare, like you have to go through a certain amount of like welfare chats after you've left. So there's a lot of support, which I think is really good. You don't feel like, oh my God, like what am I doing now? And I get texts from like the welfare team all the time, just checking in, and they're just like, they follow your journey. So they're like, oh my God, I've seen you've been in Paris. How was that? And it's nice because you don't feel like dropped type of thing. You still feel like a support system from ITV.
And I also, sorry to be the cynic in the room, but I also feel like after some of like the devastating news that has come from the show, like they can't not but I'm glad that they have made big way with that to support people that go on it, because it's such a good show. Like I love it, I'm such a fan, and I'm glad that people coming off it now really do get the love, because like if we think about it from like, I don't know, 10 years ago or not more, I don't know if that was there or not.
If that was
like,
there,
I've got
who
no
knows.
clue,
But it's nice because you feel that kind of support system, because I think when you come out, you probably are a little bit like, oh my God, like
disorientated, like
what do I do literally now? And obviously if you have close friends and family, then that's a blessing, but not maybe a lot of people do. So it's nice to speak, and sometimes it's nice to speak to someone outside of that circle and group, because sometimes speaking to someone that's a bit of a stranger is sometimes easier for people. Facts. So I think the support is good. It's definitely.
When in the villa, because how long were you in there in a period of time?
So it was 6 weeks I was in there. Yeah. 6 weeks.
It felt so much longer.
Did it?
I felt like you were in there for about, I feel like the show went on for about 8 months. I felt like you were in there so much longer.
Oh, really? Yeah, I was in there, well, pretty much the whole time, but 6 weeks.
Wow.
Yeah.
What were give me some, like, your top 3 highs in those 6 weeks? Like, really high moments that you're like, yeah, I'm so glad I did this.
So do you know what I loved, but I was dreading the whole time? The heart rate challenge. Do you know where you have to get
kissing one?
Do you know where you have to get dressed up? And you have to I mean, I actually had sleepless nights thinking about doing that. Like
whilst in the villa or before you went on?
Like when you're in your cast holding, because I was in cast holding for 2.5 weeks, I had so much thinking time. Like because you have no phone, you have no access to. They unplug TVs, phones next to your hotel. Like you cannot get onto any type of like. You just don't have anything other than yourself, and you've got your chaperone.
That must have been really hard.
Yeah, so like I was journaling every day, like every thought I had, I would like write it down, but you have a lot of thinking time, and I was thinking, what are the things I would hate to do? And that was one of them. I just thought, I'm just cringing at the thought of like my family watching that, or just doing it in general, like no music, sober. But
There's
do you know
no
what?
music.
Do you know what? There actually was music, so thank God.
So like loud music.
Loud music,
really, like,
that they put on the speakers. But I have watched podcasts where they've been like, no music, like no alcohol. So I was so nervous for it, but they put music on and they let us have a drink before it. But it was so much fun. I loved it.
Did you?
Yeah. So that was actually one of my like up there. I actually loved walking in as well.
Okay.
I really enjoyed like just going in there, walking in. What would I say my other one is? Maybe Casa more.
Was that
fun? I felt like that came at a really good time for me, and it kind of solidified a lot of friendships that I had. I think us girls came a lot closer. It was kind of like a girls' trip, because a lot of them were like in couples that they were happy with, so they weren't really chatting to any of the guys. I think it was only me, Jet and Jess, and maybe Matilda a little bit that were like chatting to guys. So it was like a proper girls' trip, and like I got really close to Jessie at that point, and there was a lot of like awkwardness with me and her because of obviously the Joey situation. So it kind of just like smoothed everything out, and it was like it just felt like 5 days away from home, and it was just like a little girls' trip. And that was really nice. That's nice. So I would say that those 3 are like moments that I enjoyed.
And then lows where you were like, what am I doing? If you have any.
I think so probably obviously when the situation happened with Jessie and Joey, I was a bit like, what the hell is going on? Like I was very, very, very confused, and I was just like, wow, that's thrown me off.
And I think we got that as well. So at least they showed that properly.
Yeah. Like that really, that really threw me off. So I think maybe
it threw us all off though. I was like, what the heck?
Yeah.
What's going on?
Yeah, it was yeah, so confused. And then maybe a bit of a low was like, so when I came back with Blade from Casa and then that didn't work out, I felt like I'd hit like this brick wall.
Right.
And especially because I don't really date on the outside, I don't really put myself out there, like I'm not, so I felt like I was getting to a point where I was going a bit like in on myself, and I was just a bit like, it didn't work with Joey, that's fine, like I'm letting him do his thing now and I've accepted it, and like me and Jessie were getting on, so I was like, I'm happy for them to move on, but I'm trying here with somebody else, and I'm also living with an ex with his new basically like kind of girlfriend, and everyone's doing their own thing and I'm like just not clicking with this one person. And because you live in the same day every day,
it's intense,
it's really intense. You can't like nip out and go to the shop, you can't go for a walk, you can't go to the gym, like your brain is just this constant like it's just like you've got to make this work with this one person, and if it's not, it's so draining. So I think that's where I was like, I'm ready to leave, so if it happens, I'm fine. So I think that was a bit of a low. I remember like literally waking up in the middle of the night and just crying, like I just literally, and I was just like, I really want to see my friends, I really want to see my family, I feel like I'm hitting a bit of a brick wall in this experience, but then I kind of came through it, and I'm so glad that I didn't end up leaving, because obviously then I think Ruben came in like maybe like 4 or 5 days later, which in there feels like so much longer, but once there was different energy in there, it kind of like lifted my spirits, and I really clicked with him and I got on with him. So yeah, I'm glad that I ended up staying, but I would say that those 2 times were like a bit of a low in there, where I was just like, oh my God,
what
this
the hell?
long.
And just an FYI, like if you're watching this thinking you're gonna get any like goss over the Joey situation, that's not what we're here for. It's not going to be happening. But what I would like to ask you is like, obviously moving on to like another part of the podcast I want to talk about, which is like your strong mindset. Like in that moment when that whole ordeal happened, which kind of was just, in my perspective, it felt very like random, and I was like, how does someone switch that quick? And I think for a lot of women, just naturally, because we're big feelers, like that could have really, really like damaged. Like I'm kind of in a way, and I feel like I can say this because like I'm your friend and like I know you from before, but in a way, like I'm glad it happened to a strong woman that could handle it in that situation, in that pressure cooker. But in that moment where you're kind of also in that space, you're like, what the heck is going on? Talk to me about like that boundary setting and what that meant for you.
So I feel like how I kind of handled the situation, I think it was kind of like fight or flight type of feelings. So the way my brain works is, so I'm quite like a strategic thinker. So sometimes I'll try and think strategically instead of emotionally. And I think that's where my strength comes from in that way. So I think, obviously I'm a woman, so I feel like immense emotion. But then I think in that moment, I was like, right, let's cut out the bullshit, because it is sad and I feel like shit, but I can't sit here and cry because I'm not an idiot. Also, like, you're a fool for letting that happen, because I know that I'm a good person to have in someone's life. So I just thought, you have made that decision now, and I need to set a boundary where he knows that he can't cross that. So because I felt betrayed, I was just like, right, let's think of this strategically. Like, I need to come out of this situation. I've been so hurt in my past that I can't revisit that.
And you feel hurt in your past from previous
like relationships and things like that I've like really delved deep on like healing from, and like making sure that I don't go back into anything that makes me feel that way. So
good.
So I think because I've done a lot of like self kind of like healing and just knowing who I am as a woman now, it was kind of like, right, this has happened, like black and white. How am I going to like get around this situation and deal with it? So I think obviously like I opened up to the girls and I felt emotional about it, and I did have a little cry, but then I was like, what good is it going to do me like moping about? And like sometimes doing that helps, like having a mope, having a cry, like it does help. But I think because I was faced with this situation and I was living with him and I was in front of both of them every day, I was just like, okay, how am I going to deal with this? And that was taking myself out of the situation, not screaming and shouting, because I used to be a scream and shouter in relationships, and it does not get you anywhere. And if anything, like it would like exhaust me, because I'm not that type of person anymore. So
fact.
To scream and shout actually is like lowering my energy. So I think to have a mature conversation, actually, like, especially as a man, they don't listen to you when you shout, but they listen to you when you're direct and speak to them. Do you know what I mean? As a man would. Do you know what I mean? So sometimes you've got to just say as little as you can, because sometimes I feel like men can't comprehend with when you're saying too much.
It's
and when you're
facts,
screaming
though.
and shouting
It's
as a
facts.
woman, they will just switch off. They won't listen to you. So I've learned a lot about things. Do you know what I mean? So I just thought, all I said to him was like, I'm out of this situation. Best of luck. And I think that actually works better than screaming and shouting. And I think it's more effective. And it didn't take away me feeling like lower or less of a, do you know what I mean? So sometimes scream and shout at someone, it brings your energy down so much. So I was just like, I'm walking away from this. And I think that's just where my boundaries were. And I just thought, I'm not revisiting that because I'm not a fool. And I've done that before and I don't want to do it again.
Yeah, it was just epic. Like, I think you, but I think you genuinely set an example for so many women. Like, no matter how great of a person we are, or no matter who you are, no matter what you do, women are women, and we are all the same, and we all have deep emotive feelings. And sometimes when love comes involved, we don't handle ourselves correctly.
Absolutely, yeah.
And I'd even say, like, I think with age and experience comes
100%,
like
how I've not always been like this. Do you know what I mean? And it does come with experience, age, just maturing and like knowing your own self and knowing what you want to feel and like how to handle it. Because I didn't used to be like that. I would be very reactive and I'd want to scream and shout and like hurt them and like and it would be a back and forth thing. Whereas I thought, I'm not doing that because I've grown from that. So like I've put in all this work to now be this person. I'm not revisiting that. And I think that's kind of where you need to be with how your boundaries are. And I think it is just with experience. It's just like how you grow through your life and then want to react to a situation that happens to you.
100%. Have you ever had therapy? Like even before the show?
No, I've actually not.
Okay. So you've learned all this stuff yourself just through experience. That's epic.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah.
Because I think that's where like I've actually also never had therapy. I really would love it though, just like genuinely like I think we all should have it. Like I think it should be just like part of health and well-being.
I agree.
But I think you really learn all of these things, like that is a good way to learn, but the way you've done it yourself, like I just think you set like such a good example.
Thank you.
However, women do feel and no matter how good your boundary setting is,
and I'm definitely not disclosing that because I definitely come across more of like I can be quite cold, but I actually feel very, very deep. And like when I care, I really, really care.
What star sign are you?
Virgo.
Okay. I don't know much about Virgos.
Do you not?
I don't know. I don't think I have any Virgos in my life other than...
Oh, really?
Yeah, no.
Yeah, so I think we're quite...
What's your birthday?
26th of August.
August. I don't think I've got any Virgos.
Do you not?
I don't think so. Carry on, sorry. I am a bit of a star signy. Like I do actually think
What's your star sign?
I'm a Scorpio.
Oh, are you?
Yeah.
That's a really good sign, though.
Oh, that's good.
Scorpio,
I am quite like, just like one as well.
Yeah.
That's why I think I should never, or like Love Island would not be for me, because I think I'd absolutely like, there's just not for me.
Really? No.
Yeah, you handled yourself with so much grace, like excuse the pun, but like you really did. And before you went on the show, this might have been in when you were in like your journaling era, when you were in the 2 weeks of holding, but like, did you know you was going to be this way in a way? Or is it just innate? Is it just who you are? Or did you feel like you had to have like almost like pep talks with yourself to remind you of like what your limits are? Does that make sense?
Yeah. I think it's kind of just how I am. Like it is just... It's
innate.
Yeah, it is just kind of how I am. And I think like I have a lot of strong females in my life. And I think when you touched upon the whole therapy thing, like the females in my life are kind of like my therapists. Yeah. And I say that because... like they will genuinely listen to me and like understand me and be like, have you thought about it in this way? Like my friends are just so mature in thinking, and even like I have really good family for it. So they like challenge me, and I think that's how I've learned and like been brought up. And obviously the friends I've had around me are not just like, they're not like Delulu in a sense where they're just like, like they really are like, okay, let's sit down and like think about this. You're going through this, and how about this? And like, I think that's where I've learned to be how I am, because it's kind of like, I would kind of be in there and think, right, what would they advise me on? And like,
that's when you know you've got a real circle of friends.
Yeah, really good circle of friends, and like the same with my family. So I think they've kind of like helped me be the way I am, because it's not all just down. Do you know what I mean? Like it's who you surround yourself with. So I think,
and also shout out to the ex-boyfriends who did you dirty and like made you grow.
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
oh my God, 100%.
You had a little bit of benefit in your life.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. So I think it's kind of just how I am, but obviously it's easy to be weak in a situation, especially with a man, because they're so good at getting themselves back in there. But I think because he never really tried, obviously not to touch back up on him, it was like easy for me just to be like, cut that out, goodbye. I think he knew not to, because I think, he'd be like, there's just no.
I know we talk about men on the island of love, but I think what's also is just as important is your female relationships. And I know you had a great relationship with all of the girls, which is lovely because not a lot of people do.
Yeah.
But did you find, because I think boundary setting is naturally almost always spoken about with a male relationship, but did you find that you had to do any kind of like boundary setting with females in there?
Do you know what?
As in
really.
overstepping the mark or?
No, not at all. And I'm so glad, because I kind of feel like before going in, I was a bit like, I hope that there's no animosity or like any sort of like, I feel like with a man sometimes you can argue with them and just think like, oh, whatever. But I feel like with a female, especially because you're living with girls, it's just so like awkward, and that makes me feel more shit than sometimes. Do you know, like if I'm arguing with a friend, it makes me feel more shit than if I'm just arguing. When I used to argue with my man, I'd be like, oh, whatever. Like sometimes, so I felt like I didn't want to have any bad relationships with any of the girls, and I genuinely didn't. Like I feel like they casted so well with the females in there. Like we all really clicked, even with people that I watched on the outside, kind of because I could watch a few episodes before I went in.
Okay.
Yeah, I was a bit like, I'm not sure I'll get on with her, and I feel like me and her are quite different.
Okay.
But then when I was in there living with them all, like I loved every single one of them, and they're all very different, but it just worked. And it really was like really good, strong relationships. Like I could go to a different girl for different things, and like I could sit with all of them one-on-one and not feel like, oh, I don't really like her or we don't really get on. Like I actually got on with all of them.
And I don't know if this is again what the show shows us, but from a viewer and someone who obviously knows you, I felt like with some of the female relationships, they were crossing each other's boundaries and like disrespecting each other. But I felt like no one would even like think to disrespect you because you know you'd like pan them. Whereas like I would watch some of the female friendships and I would feel like hurt for some of them, and then I'd feel like embarrassed, and I would be like confused as to why they're stepping on each other's toes so much or disrespecting them like quietly or quite loudly in some sentences. But with you, I felt like, other than of course the one instance with Jessie, I guess, which was more involved with her. Having her experience, I felt like you held a mutual respect with all of them.
For all of the girls, like I really got on with all of them, which I think is so important, because there's nothing worse than like it being catty or like thinking, oh, like we don't really get on. Obviously there was different situations with the girls in there, but I guess then again it's clash of personalities and like it's them two not getting on because maybe, do you know what I mean? I think the way I am, I'm quite, I don't know, I just feel like it worked with all the girls for me in there, and I'm just so grateful that it did.
Looking back now, because you've been out the villa, how long has the show not been on now? So how long has it been?
Nearly 3 months.
Yeah. You know, you look back and you probably reflect and you think about things like, do you have any regrets?
No, I actually don't. I don't have any regrets, because I find in life to try and like not have regrets and maybe more like learn from situations and maybe think like, I mean, not that I would ever be in a villa with all those people. Do you know what I mean? Never again. Yeah. But if there was like ever be a situation that arise, like how would I do that maybe differently, instead of being like, oh, I regret this and I regret that.
Okay.
Kind of a more like positive, but yeah, no regrets. No.
I feel like you handled everything so well.
Yeah.
And since you've come out, like, how's it been then? A lot of people are asking, like, I'm going to do these quotation marks with my hands because I sometimes think the definition of a reality star is quite, like, ambiguous. It's got so many meanings, but, like, what's it been like? Because it's
been really fun.
Yeah.
Like, I've enjoyed it. And I think because I kind of went in there, so, like, obviously beforehand, like, we've met at, like, events, like, fashion events and that type of thing. I've kind of, like, had a glimpse of that life anyways. Like I knew a lot of people from the industry and that type of thing, but it's kind of just elevated it on a different level and opened doors. And like I've gone to events that like I've loved to have gone to, but obviously I've not been able to before going on the show. So I'm just taking every day as it comes and just kind of enjoying the process and not like getting too in my head about things and just enjoying it for what it is.
And before you went on the show, you were with your agency, which you're still with now. Did you have like aligned thoughts and plans as to like, before you went on the show, what was the vision and whilst you were in the show? Because let's be honest, a lot of it is to do with like a business move and you do have to be like strategic and like, okay, these are the steps we'd like to take afterwards, or like, so was that conversation had with your management as to like, okay, scope out this, had chats with these people?
On a business level, do you mean? Yeah. So I think before we went in, we sat down, we had a little meeting, and she was just like, listen, like if all goes amazingly well, which she was like, I'm sure it will. Like, where would you kind of want to go? So like I kind of had a little like idea and avenue of like where I'd want to go down. But I think because I didn't want to put too much pressure on it, because I would say to her, like, I'm not a doubtful person, but I'm a bit of a realist. So I was just like, let's not, like, I'm very much like an earth sign, so I'm a bit quite grounded in a sense where I'm not like, I'm going to win it, I'm going to do all this. Do you know what I mean? Sometimes I'm like, let me take the situation and see where it takes me. Let's have a few like goals and plans of where it could take me. If it doesn't, then fine, we'll kind of go from there and see where we can move with that. But yeah, we had a conversation and we were like, okay, we'd want to do this and that. And if all goes well, then we'll push for that. And even if all doesn't go well, we'll still try and push for that. But yeah, we kind of had like a bit of a plan.
I think it's always smart because, like you say, you never know where it's gonna take you, and it's nice 100%. To have a little bit of a plan. And so recently you launched an edit with Ego. Yes, congrats! That's so exciting.
Thank
and I know
you.
It's very on brand with them, with you even, and you're on brand with them, which is great.
Yeah.
Talk to us about it. Tell me.
So this kind of happened. It was quite soon after I left the villa, really, because I think whilst I'd been in there, my agent, which is I'm blessed for, because I had an agent who I really trusted. A lot of brands were like getting in touch with them whilst I was in there. So as soon as I came out, it was very much like, right, we're stepping back into work, which I was happy to do anyways. So I had a few meetings, but I just felt like, with Ego, like I loved the team, I loved the ideas they brought. I had a lot of kind of like design input, a lot of styling input. So that was really important to me because I was like, if I'm doing my own collection, I'm putting my name behind it type of, or with it. Yeah. I want to make sure that like I love the collection, that I'd wear it, that it aligns with me, and that I would want people to feel confident in it, not just doing it for the sake of it. So yeah, I think obviously Paris as well, they were like, listen, we'd love to take you to Paris. And I was just like, do you know what, that's unbelievable, and that's something I would love to do. So there was a lot of factors into it where I thought, okay, Ego for me was like the perfect fit. So yeah, I've loved it so far. It's just been so good.
Has it been is it been hands-on? Is it very hands-on, or is it kind of just like
it's not, obviously I'm not in the creative team completely, like I'm not taking like the clothes, but yeah, like we've had multiple meetings. I'll go in, like we speak a lot, and they're very open to like hearing my ideas. And yeah, I mean, they've done an amazing job like at planning things and organizing things. Like they've just put in so much effort, and they did, every detail was just perfect. But they're also like, what do you think about this and how? So it's nice because obviously I'm not in there 9 to 5 working every single day, but I can come in and out. We'll have meetings, we'll have calls. So yeah, it's not been super hands-on, but I've had a lot of involvement.
And this was edit number 1, right?
Yes. Really nice.
I love that. And how was it walking in like a show?
Scary.
I actually spoke with Grace's agent Maddie before, and I was like, I really feel like Grace needs to be like on a Victoria's Secret catwalk. I was like pitching ideas with her and her agent. I was like, what am I doing? But like, you really suit that vibe, like Miami Swim Week.
Yeah,
like,
this is what I would love to do. Yeah.
How was the catwalk experience? Like, it must be nerve-wracking.
So nerve-wracking because I did London Fashion Week about 2 years ago, and I hated it. I hated every minute of it. Like, I really, really did. Like, only because, not because of the brand or nothing, because of, I just didn't feel experienced enough. And I felt like, I was just like, felt out of my depth. It was Opally and Bow and Tea. And I loved the experience, but I hated, like, I mean, my friends were there and they were like, your walk was great. Like, you did such a good job. But you know, when I just
didn't. On the inside.
I just didn't feel like, yeah, do you know when you think like, I could have done that better? Or, I don't know, I'm a bit hard on myself. So then when this obviously opportunity arose, I was like, oh my God, I just need to smash it. Yeah, I need to smash this. And like, I felt a lot more confident in myself though. So I think it was only about 2.5 years ago, but I think as a 26-year-old, and I was saying this to my friends, I don't know what it is from transitioning to like when you hit that like later 20s, but I'm just so much more confident, like even like my body and like who I am and just everything. I felt a lot more confident to walk this time than I did last time.
That is, I always say age is nothing but a number. However, what I will say is that with experience, you do grow.
Oh my God, 100%.
You grow to love your skin and yourself so much more. And apparently when you hit 30, it's even better. So
really?
Just watch out for Grace when she hits 30. But yeah, that must have been like really nerve-wracking. And also it's all eyes on you. It's your edit. It's like, don't trip over.
That's like, what it was.
It's a lot of pressure.
Yeah, like there's pressure just to walk as a model anyway in whatever runway. But then it was like, okay, everyone's here to see me and then to see the collection. I'm also going to be walking. I was then supposed to do a speech, but that didn't happen. So I was just thinking like, there was just literally no mics on the day. So there was just, it was just like a small little technical issue. But even like public speaking, even though I'd done it on the show, it's like so out of my comfort zone. So
is it?
Yeah. Even though I feel like I'm all right at speaking, I feel like to speak in front of like hundreds of people.
Just would rather not. But did you have hundreds of people there?
I would say, yeah, it was quite,
Wow.
I mean, it wasn't like loads, but it was like a big full room of people. And that to me is like
a lot of people.
Yeah.
That's epic though. I just wanted to touch on something quickly that I didn't plan to touch on, but I want to touch on it. Don't worry, it's not going to scare you.
Yeah.
Because you just made a comment to you feeling a lot more like beautiful in your skin.
Yeah.
I know just because of the amount of time I've known you, you've gone on a gym journey. And you've really like leveled up in that sense when it comes to your discipline, I would say.
Yeah. Oh my God, 100%.
With the gym.
Yes.
Talk to me, where did the love for lifting and working out come from? Because I hope you won't mind me saying.
No, that's fine.
But before you were equally as beautiful, but you were very slight.
Yeah.
Whereas now I would say you're equally as beautiful, but you've got a lot more muscle mass.
Yeah.
And you feel... Would you say you feel better?
Yeah, 100%. I think I never ever disliked my body. So it never was like I need to get in the gym because I dislike myself. It was more like I feel like my body has this potential to look like this and for me to feel, and even like on a mental health kind of note, like I just wanted to get in the gym. And like so many of my friends would be like, the feeling you get after training, like the endorphins you release and you just feel just so much more clear-minded. And I was just like, I just want to tap into that. And I feel like I went more on like a health journey. Like I started eating better. I like introduced like sea moss, and I rave to everyone about sea moss.
Do
like,
you?
Oh my
I
God.
can't get in with it. I tried
it's changed my whole life. I know it's awful.
It's vile.
But it's so vile. But it's just, I feel like I just, opened a different chapter, and I was like, okay, I want to get into the gym. So then I started training with my PT, who I've still got now. And we just was like, right, what is your goal? What's your end goal? Where do you want to get to? Like, what are you comfortable in doing? And then just did it. But it took a lot of discipline. Like it took me I bulked because I was so slim before for like a year. Like I was on a lot of calories for like a year. And then I was like fluffy and that didn't feel good. And like my face was like a lot rounder, and like my legs were like muscly, but you couldn't see the muscle because I was like bulking so much. Okay. And then I like stripped back. And then I was like, oh my God, that was the best thing I ever did.
And was it because a lot of people talk about dieting and having a calorie deficit and how hard that is?
Yeah.
Talk to us about how hard it is to overeat and be in like a calorie surplus.
So I think, to be honest, I was on a lot of calories. I think I was on between like 2,500 to 3,000 a day, which is a lot for a woman. What would a
day of eating look like for you? Did you have like set meals, or would you be flexible?
Yeah, so I'd wake up and I'd have like protein porridge in the morning with fruit and like honey or like peanut butter, because that was always like high in fat and really good calories. And then I would have, and I cannot believe I would even eat this much, I would have 4 large eggs, and I was hungry for this food, by the way. Okay. Like I could eat it all. 4 large eggs, 3 chicken sausages, a full avocado, and like 2 pieces of sourdough bread on toast. Yeah. And that was because I was in my bulk and I was just so hungry. To eat. Yeah. So I'd have that. I would then have so I'd eat at about 9, and then I'd eat about 1, and then at about 4, I would have a full pack of rice with a full tin of tuna. And then at about 8, I would have another full pack of rice with like chicken or salmon and veg.
It's such like a lifestyle.
How the hell did I eat all that food? I mean, I loved it because I was like, I actually enjoy that type of food.
Yeah.
But I'm like, now I'm like, oh my God, I'm not hungry to eat that type of food.
So what does training look like now? Do you train how many times a week?
So back then I trained about 3 times a week.
Oh, okay. So manageable. It's not like you're in the gym every day.
Oh, no, I wasn't in the gym every day. I lifted really heavy. So a lot heavier than I did now. My PT like really pushed me to lift heavy because he was just, because I grew muscle quite quickly because I used to dance. So I kind of had like muscle memory, especially with my legs. Like, I mean, I had absolutely no bum, so I had to really start from scratch from that. But with my legs, I already had a bit of muscle memory. So yeah, I was lifting really heavy. Now I'm at a point where I'm like maintenance. So I don't even, I'm going to be honest, I don't track like my calories. I don't know, like it's different every day. If I'm a bit hungrier someday, I'll have like an extra chicken sausage or like an extra, do you know what I mean? Like I still eat clean, but I'm not like trying to hit a like, do you know what I mean, calories. And then now I train probably about twice a week, and I train.
Oh, so it's really manageable.
Yeah,
I like
oh my God,
that.
it's so manageable. Like, I'm not crazy in the gym every day. Like, no, because I think that's a strain as well, especially on a woman. Like, it's a lot, and especially with your hormones and your period. You're
Can
different
we just
every
have
month.
Grace on this podcast like every time? Because you are just like, I love everything you're saying. It's so true. And I feel like sometimes we have this pressure on us as women when it's like we have like our anatomy, our hormones, the way we are built is so different to what a lot of these regiments and like setups are like, or we're being told to do, for example. And I'm just
100%.
like, this is like music to my ears. I'm like, talk dirty to me, like keep going.
Because you've got to take that into account.
It's so lovely for other women around the world to hear that, like, yes, Grace has an incredible body, but you know, she's not in the gym every single day killing herself. Like, it's manageable, and I think that's beautiful, and I just love to hear it.
Yeah, it's so manageable, because that's why I didn't want to, because I think you can have an unhealthy relationship with the gym, especially with like cardio if you're trying to lose weight. So I was like, right, let's be realistic. What suits like my week? What suits me as a person? And then just go for that. And obviously it's really hard work, and some days I'm like, I couldn't think of anything worse than going to the gym. But I think when you have a healthy relationship with the gym, you start seeing results. That's when you're like, okay, I'm going to carry it on.
So as someone who's a passionate person about working out, when you were in the villa, I remember there's like a little gym. But
I didn't train at all, which was really difficult, because I noticed, especially on like, just for your mental, like, do you know, sometimes you want to just like go to the gym and release and just be like, oh my God, I feel so much better after that. There isn't, I mean, there's obviously a little setup, and it's as best as they can do, like with the space, but I think I trained twice.
Okay, and why not more? Just because you didn't feel like it, or you didn't want to be on the TV doing it, or?
No, more like the heat. It was really hot. Like one day I got severely, like, I got so sunburnt because I was training for an hour because I just really wanted to train. And then they were like, listen, like, obviously they don't want you to be like sunburnt, or do you know what I mean? Like, there's just no way. So they were like, you need to be more careful. Like, because it was like, some days were like 35-degree heat, and I didn't even know it got that hot in Mallorca.
Me neither. Yeah. I was like, I'm sure you were in Mallorca.
Yeah. It got really, really hot. So like, me and Harriet would sometimes try and do, she's more of a yoga girly, and I was trying to do the weights, but then the weights weren't that heavy, and I was trying to do things that just wasn't really working. And I was just like, you're also very aware that like you are being filmed, and like sometimes I just love like a sweaty gym session. I'll put my headphones on and you've got no music. The whole setup just wasn't really there to train.
Okay, I'm with you.
So it was more just like, you just couldn't really.
Would you say you're body confident?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And was there any point? Sorry, I get so many different questions coming into my head. I'm dipping and diving back into different subjects, but I just want to naturally like talk to you about it. Was there any points on the show where you were like, you'd sit consciously, or like you were conscious of where the camera was versus your body, or like your like, do you ever think like that?
Yeah. I think as a woman, oh my God, 100%, like I'd be aware that, because everyone would say like, well, from what I'd heard, like you don't notice the cameras. I think you do. Body wise, you would think, okay, now that camera's on me, like, do you know what I mean? Like maybe I should sit up a little bit, and do you know what I mean? Because like when I'm at home, I'm so like, I'll sit in like the most funny way. Like I was aware not to do that. Do you know, especially because you're in a bikini as well. You're not in like a tracksuit. You're in like a tiny little bikini. So I was aware that there was cameras on me. Do you know what I mean?
It just blows my mind.
Yeah.
I find it fascinating.
Yeah, it's crazy. This is all the stuff I wanted to find out as well. Do you know? Because you never know what, being a viewer, like what actually goes on. And then when you're in there, you're like, oh my God.
Well, all I can say is that every angle I saw of you was 10 out of 10, babes.
Thanks.
Because you're so beautiful. You looked honestly absolutely incredible.
Thank you.
And do you know what also I thought was amazing? And I'm now just going back to the gym topic. I love that. I mean, I don't know if this was, I knew you before, but like your body was such a demonstration of your hard work, i.e. like all your gym and your gym journey. And like, I just thought you looked wicked.
Thank you.
I was a super fan. I was like, Grace better win. Did you think you was going to get to the final?
No.
But you made it just before the final,
literally like 4 days before, which I was just so surprised at, because I think realistically, even though I'd tried in the couples I was with, like if anything, I'd been in like a lot of friendship couples, and there was a few times where like I was in like steel, so like they took me from the couple I was in. So kind of felt like the only proper couple I was in was really with Joey at the start. So then to still be there, because I was in so many friendship couples, I was like, of course the public are going to vote me out, because like that's why when I said I wanted to leave, I was okay because I was in a lot of friendship couples. So I felt like, yeah, like I'm okay with leaving because...
You know, before you walked in on the show, did you know who was going to be in there? Like, did you know Joey was going to be in there?
So I knew Joey was going to be in there because I think I watched this. So they had to obviously, because I was supposed to go in at the start. So I was supposed to be like an OG. I was supposed to go in at the start and then I was supposed to go in on the first week. They weren't wanting me to watch it, but I think it got to a point where they were like, okay, she's going in. I went in on day 10, episode 10. So they were like, she needs to know what's going on because there'd been so much that was happening. If I went in blind, I'd be a bit like, what the hell? Yeah. So then I think it was about 3 days before they planned for me to go in.
How did you feel when you saw him on the TV?
Yeah, I was just like, oh my God.
But say, because I know you had past experience with Joey, so naturally your feelings develop before even stepping in because you're like, oh my God. Like, if he wasn't in there, did you have anyone in mind?
You've got to have your top 3.
Oh, really? Do they ask you that?
Yeah, they ask everybody just to gauge like who you're kind of feeling and like obviously for like their storyline, like does that make sense for you to come in now at that point?
Okay.
Yeah.
So who were your top 3? Do you remember?
I mean, obviously Joey was in one of them because he was my ex, kind of ex. So I was like, let's just put him in. And you've got to pick 3, and sometimes that's difficult when there's
don't know them.
When I don't know them, and there's only
you're going off looks.
There's only like 7 of them, so you can't, or however many, so you kind of pick like half. And I was like, oh my God, I can't remember who else I said. I can't remember who was in there at that point.
I know it's been a while now. Don't worry if you can't answer.
Yeah, I actually can't remember.
And so, how's the dating life been since you've come out? Is it harder? Is it easier? Have you been on any dates?
No. It's kind of like I'm just kind of going through the motions. You must have so many people in your DMs.
Can you tell us who's in your DMs?
I don't even have that many people. Like, I'll have just like random stupid weird DMs and like, or DMs from people where I'm like, I'm sure you've got a missus. Do you know what I mean? So maybe I can't speak about who it is, but to be honest, I'm not like an active dater, so I knew that. Yeah, I knew I'd come out and probably be the same and kind of like probably fall into something because I've met them through this person, or like I've met them like abroad, or do you know what I mean, in that kind of way. Like, I'm not like, oh my God, I need to date to find someone. I'm just like, if it's gonna naturally happen, it will happen. I'm just letting it be.
You've been to some cool events since you've come out the villa. What's that one really cool one you went to? What's it called? GRM? What's it called?
Yeah. GRM, the gala. GRM Daily.
What was that like? Because I know
so much fun.
Must have been lots of good-looking people there.
Yeah, there was. It was so much fun, and that was like my first event after being out from the villa.
What a cool event to go to, though.
I loved it, and I was there with my friends, so we just had a good mingle. There was girls there that I knew, a few Islanders, so it was fun.
And who are you in touch with the most now since you've come out, female or male wise?
So
are you still? Do you stay close?
Yeah, so I still speak to Harriet, Uma, and Matilda like pretty much every day.
Okay.
I speak to them all the time.
Group chat.
Yeah, we just keep updated with each other, and like if one of us are in, like if they're in Manchester, we'll go for lunch, or if I'm in London, like I'll go and see them. To be honest, I don't speak to as many of them like day to day, but like we'll send each other like funny things, or we'll be like, oh my God, do you know what I mean? Like I'll reply to their stories, or they will with mine, but I think I don't even sometimes speak to my own circle every day.
Yeah, no, of course.
Do you know what I mean? It kind of gets like that, but like there's always a lot of love there, and like if I ever see them at events, like we'll always chat and like speak. And
why wasn't there a reunion?
I don't actually know, because we did like a party reunion, but it wasn't
no
filmed.
Official one.
Yeah, because
why?
I have no idea.
Do they not tell you?
I can't remember what it actually was, but I was so thankful because at that point you're so over like
it.
Because you go on After Sun and discuss all the gossip, and then I'm like, do I have to go on TV again and discuss it? Like, you're kind of a bit done with it.
I hear that. You just want to move on to the next chapter.
Yeah, you're in your real life mode then.
I'm just going through some of the questions that the audience asked. What do you eat in the villa? Like, what's the choice?
So the choice is, and it did actually get a little bit better, because I think it was actually Harriet and Samantha that were like, we can't eat this, because at some points, so basically because they wake you up at, obviously you don't know the time, but it
that
feels...
would fuck me
Yeah.
up.
Yeah, it's so weird to be so out of control because I'm
such
very
a
much
routine girl.
Yeah, I'm very much like alarm on at this time. I know what time I'm doing this, and like I'm very in control. Everybody's so in control of their own day. So you get in there and it's like you go to bed at a time that you have no idea, but it feels about like 4 or 5 a.m. because and one night it was like it was the sunrise, so you knew it was about 6 a.m. in the morning. But then obviously you're in the bedroom and it's blackout, so you don't wake up and then they'll wake you up. So I do think they give you between about 6 to 8 hours because sometimes I'd feel refreshed waking up, and then sometimes, do you know when you feel like that felt like a short sleep? So like
and you feel like you've got a hangover without even
exactly
having a hangover.
But I think because they knew if it was going to be a busy day filming, like they'd want to get you up a bit earlier, so you have
they really get their work out of
you. Like they're like lights on up, you've got like 15 minutes, as the girls have 15 minutes to get ready. The guys can shower because obviously they're quicker, but they'll be like in and out like within 15 minutes, like do you make, and I'm such like I love a shower in the morning, and they didn't let you shower in the morning.
Why?
I know. Because they'd be like, you girls would take way too long if you all showered or then did your hair or did your makeup. It's kind of like get in the dressing room.
So what, did you just get like one shower a day?
Yeah, you get one in the evening.
Okay.
Yeah. You get a shower. Okay. You do get a shower a day.
Clean yourself.
But yeah, so what was the question? Oh yeah, food. So dinner. So yeah, so then.
Or just like breakfast, lunch, dinner.
So they don't really serve breakfast, which threw me off. So then after you'd probably be awake for between like 30 minutes to an hour, and they bring out lunch, which feels really bizarre because like it feels about you want to have a bowl of cereal or like something like breakfast.
Well, I remember you did get a bowl of cereal that you didn't get to eat because you got pulled. I could tell I was like, Grace is fuming.
Yeah, I was fuming. Let me eat. Let me have my. And I think
that pulled you again? Was it Ruben?
Bless him. Yeah, it was Ruben. But I think that was one of the nights that maybe I hadn't had much sleep. And sometimes I'm just like, I need a second just to like break. Let me defrost. Yeah. Like I'm tired.
Quite literally.
I just want to like eat my breakfast and just be on your own because you don't get much time in there on your own. So I think I just wanted to like have my breakfast and chill.
You look so pissed.
I know, and bless him, because I didn't even realise how rude I sounded until I watched that back. And I
think that was probably your one moment where you weren't feeling right, but
yeah. But I mean,
it is what it
is.
Yeah.
Like,
sorry, I've interrupted you. Yeah, go on.
Yeah, so basically, lunch and dinner, they would just bring out about 4 different options. So they'd bring you out like a Caesar salad, which we had to request because they were bringing out like shepherd's pie. And who wants to eat shepherd's pie when you've just woken up and it's like hot. 25 to 30 degrees?
No.
Ew, I'm not having shepherd's pie. Okay. Just take it away. So yeah, they would have that, or they'd have like seasoned chicken with like rice. Sometimes they bring like chips, like salad. That type of thing. They were good. You had like a few fair selections, and the fridge was always full. You would always have like loads of bread, bagels, snacks, croissants. Yeah. Like every drink you could think of was in there. Like it was good. Dinner was the same kind of vibe. So they'd bring out like 4 different options, and you could pick on like, it's kind of like school dinner vibes. You'd just like put everything on a plate and then eat it.
Because I actually remember one of Samantha's TikToks came up on my feed recently, and she was kind of talking about, because obviously her appearance, she was mentioning about how her appearance had changed and she was getting a lot of backlash for it, which I think is so unfair.
Yeah.
But she was also saying like how it was so difficult to try and just like be healthy in a way, because like
definitely.
you got a lack of sleep. Yeah. The food options weren't good. You're a bit discombobulated and disorientated.
Yeah. So sometimes you just want like comfort food, because there was always like, I mean, it was amazing. They had like snack drawers of like all biscuits and everything, like sweets. We would have like pizza every night, like toasties. And obviously if you do put on weight and you're also not like getting your normal steps in or going to the gym,
and so sleep is so important as well.
Important. So I think sometimes like we would all like just eat so much in the evening, and obviously because also like you're hungry if sometimes you didn't like what came out for dinner, like you're starving at like, and because you're filming like from probably like 11 till 3-4 in the morning, you just like, you want to snack.
Madness, isn't it?
You want to eat.
And alcohol, what did that look like?
So they would
give you... Sometimes I think it would be absolute carnage if there was like an
unlimited. Oh my God, carnage. And I think because they'd probably want you to get up and film the next day, and when I am hungover, it's like, do not chat to me. Yeah. So it's quite good that they limit it. But I mean, they give you 2 drinks a night, and it doesn't sound a lot, but it does actually go to your head a little bit.
Really?
Yeah. And they would give you like different options. So you'd have like red wine, rosé, prosecco, white wine, and...
What did you have before the heart rate challenge?
Red wine.
Is that...
And I hate wine anyways, but red wine was like a thing in the villa that it got you like most drunk.
Okay, so
'Cause
you
I
need it
would
for liquid courage.
Yeah, I would try and have the like white sparkling wine, but it just felt like I was drinking lemonade.
Yeah.
And then one of the boys in there said to me, like, get the red wine, like it goes to your head a bit more. So I was like, right, I'll try it. And it tasted like it was like vinegar. It was disgusting.
Oh, vile.
But so, like it's stressful
It
in there.
works.
And
Yeah,
yeah, sometimes you
needed
just
it.
need a little drink. So
I love that. Sorry, I'm just looking through this. So you would say naturally on a night you'd get 6 to 8 hours?
yeah.
Oh, I'd be so cranky.
Yeah, 6
I'm
to
like
8
an
hours.
8 to 10 gal.
Me too. Like I love my sleep.
Yeah. Would you do reality TV again?
I don't actually know. I think I would never want to say no, but it would just have to make sense. I'd have to
Like,
be
would
like,
you do All Stars?
I don't know. I think I
I
would
think
never.
it'd be great.
I'd never say no.
I feel
but-
like I'd want you to have I feel like. Sorry, I'm so passionate about that. But I feel like you were so deserving of someone.
Yeah.
And obviously didn't happen.
Yeah.
But like, I feel like.
A bit of a second go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You'd be so good.
I think I'd have to just really like, does it make sense in my
Align.
life? Yeah. Does it
Yeah.
align? But I would never say no. I think it'd be like, I'd be open, maybe. Just
Love
have to
that.
say.
Well, I feel like we've covered, as me and Grace have just non-stop waffled for I don't even know how long, but we've covered so many things that I really wanted to like just deep dive into, and you've articulated everything so beautifully. So thank you. And again, thank you for being like such a good example for women, and especially I think a younger generation who, because a lot of that show touches a lot of people.
Yeah.
And I think the way you handled yourself, maybe even in times where you didn't really want to handle yourself that well, you've set such a good example. And I think that's also a testament to the fact that you've come out and people actually come up to you and give you that feedback now.
Yeah, which
I
is
just think you should be
crazy.
so proud of yourself.
Thank you.
And I'm sure your mom and the family are just like
Yeah.
so proud of you.
Yeah, thank you.
That show can
Get you.
pear-shaped
Yeah.
and it can get
Oh my
you.
God,
yeah,
100%.
you absolutely smashed it. And thanks
Thank
for being
you.
open and
Of course.
sharing all the deets with us. If you made it to the end, thank you for watching. Thanks for coming, Grace.
Of course.
And please like, share, comment, subscribe, whatever you can do to support the course. And we'll be back with another episode soon. Ciao.